The first explosion shattered the silence like a gunshot, echoing across the frozen lake. And that was when everyone realized this was about to spiral, completely out of control. Families skating froze in place, kids screamed, and phones flew into the air as a blinding flash lit up the ice. At the center of it all stood one woman in a fur-lined coat, hands on her hips, smiling like she'd just won something. No warning, no safety barrier, just fireworks detonating on a frozen lake in the middle of a quiet HOA community. This wasn't a festival. This wasn't a celebration. This was Karen's idea of making a point. Earlier that morning, the lake had been calm. A natural skating spot locals used every winter, unofficial but respected. No signs, no issues, no drama. Until Karen arrived dragging a cooler, a folding table, and a stack of fireworks big enough to make people nervous. When questioned, she snapped back with confidence, claiming HOA approval and insisting the lake was community property. Most people didn't argue. They never do at first. They assumed she knew what she was doing. They assumed wrong. As Karen positioned fireworks directly on the ice, a few neighbors tried to stop her. One man warned her about pressure cracks. A mother begged her to wait until the lake cleared. Karen rolled her eyes and shouted that everyone was overreacting. She claimed she'd done this before. She claimed she was in charge. The fuse was lit, literally and figuratively. When the first firework exploded, the ice groaned beneath everyone's feet. A deep, unnatural sound rippled outward, like the lake itself was protesting. People ran, some fell. The ice didn't break, yet, but hairline fractures spidered across the surface, spreading fast. Karen laughed. Actually laughed. She raised her phone, recording herself as if this chaos was content. That's when the second firework went off. Louder, closer, wrong. A crack split the ice just feet from her boots. The smile vanished. The crowd shouted. And for the first time, Karen looked unsure. This was no longer a spectacle. It was a countdown. The third firework never launched upward. It detonated sideways, skidding across the ice like a burning missile. People screamed and scattered as sparks ricocheted in every direction. Karen stumbled backward, her confidence collapsing faster than the ice beneath her. The lake answered with a violent crack, deeper and louder than before, splitting the surface in a jagged line that ran straight toward shore. Someone yelled to call 911. Someone else shouted that a child had fallen. The peaceful winter morning had transformed into panic in under 30 seconds. Karen tried to shout over the chaos, insisting everything was under control, but no one was listening anymore. A man grabbed her arm, demanding she stop, but she yanked free, screaming that no one had the authority to touch her. That's when the ice finally gave a warning too clear to ignore. A low, thunderous boom beneath their feet. Water surged up through the cracks, dark and fast. The lake wasn't frozen solid anymore. It was breaking apart. People crawled toward shore, spreading their weight the way ice rescue training teaches. A teenager helped an elderly woman slide across on her stomach. Someone tossed jackets to keep others from slipping into the widening gaps. Karen stood frozen, staring at the cooler of unused fireworks like they had betrayed her. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Karen snapped out of it and started shoving fireworks back into the cooler, panic replacing arrogance. She tried to walk away, but an officer arrived just in time, ordering her to stop. She protested immediately. She always does. She claimed permission. She blamed the crowd. She insisted the lake was unsafe before she arrived. The officer didn't argue. He just pointed at the cracked ice and the soaked, shaking residents being helped onto shore. Firefighters arrived next, setting up barriers and ushering everyone back. One firefighter shook his head, muttering that this could have ended far worse. Karen was separated from the crowd, her phone still recording, her voice rising as she demanded to speak to someone in charge. She didn't realize yet that she was about to meet them, because the HOA president had just arrived, and he did not look happy. The HOA president walked straight, past the officers and stopped inches from Karen's face, his voice low but sharp enough to cut through the noise. He asked one simple question: who approved this? Karen opened her mouth, ready with her usual confidence, but nothing came out. She stammered, then tried to deflect, claiming it was a community event and that safety concerns were exaggerated. That excuse collapsed instantly. The president turned to the police and clarified that no approval had been given, no permits requested, and no fireworks allowed, especially not on a frozen lake used by residents. Karen's face drained of color as the reality hit her in waves. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was negligence. Witnesses stepped forward fast. Videos were already circulating. Neighbors showed recordings of her refusing warnings, mocking concerns and lighting the fireworks anyway. One clip captured the moment the ice cracked beneath her feet. Another showed her laughing, Karen tried to regain control, accusing the HOA of targeting her, but the crowd wasn't buying it anymore. Parents shouted. Residents demanded accountability. The officers finally told her to put the phone down. She refused, and that refusal earned her handcuffs. Silence fell as metal clicked around her wrists. The woman who claimed authority seconds earlier now stood powerless, escorted away as emergency crews assessed the damage. Thankfully, no one had fallen into the lake, but hypothermia risks were real, and several people were treated on site. Karen was charged with reckless endangerment and disorderly conduct. The fireworks were confiscated. The lake was closed indefinitely. By evening, the story had exploded online. Headlines wrote themselves. Whole chaos on frozen lake, fireworks trigger ice, fracture. Karen's own video became evidence, shared thousands of times. Her words replayed again and again. The HOA issued a public apology. New safety policies were announced, and residents, shaken but united, finally felt heard. Karen. She would spend the night in custody, facing consequences she never imagined when she struck that first fuse. The next morning, the lake was silent again, but everything had changed. Yellow caution tape fluttered where families once skated, and deep cracks scarred the ice like reminders of how close disaster came. News vans lined the street as reporters interviewed residents who were still processing the shock. Karen was released later that day, quieter now, avoiding cameras as charges were formally filed. Her HOA privileges were suspended pending review, and legal action loomed. For the first time, her authority meant nothing. The community met that evening, not in anger, but in reflection. Neighbors who barely spoke before now shared stories, videos, and relief. They talked about responsibility, about how easily confidence can become danger when unchecked. What lingered most wasn't the fireworks. It was the realization that one person's arrogance nearly cost lives. The lake would freeze again someday, kids would skate again. But no one would forget how fast chaos arrived when warnings were ignored. And Karen? She learned the hard way that rules apply to everyone, especially those who think they're above them. Whoa! Can you believe what just happened? Karen went full chaos mode on the frozen lake. If this shocked you, make sure to smash that like button. Comment below with the moment that blew your mind. Share this video with your friends so they can see this madness too. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to never miss another wild HOA story. You won't believe what happens next.